Excellent. So today, welcome to our next episode of Homegrown 2020, where I am being I'm meeting with amazing women across Australia and New Zealand to talk all things life, business, leading change, and juggling all of the balls that come in between, I guess, leading a life goal-driven and achieving what it is that these amazing women are wanting to achieve. And today I am joined with Kellie Annesley Smith. And I'm really excited to have you here, and thank you so much for joining me. What our listeners and viewers don't know is that we have been chatting before this for a very long time, and I'm really excited to for all of you to understand more about Kellie's business and how she helps people in the business world. But before we get into that, just to kind of give you a bit of information or background, Kellie is a teacher, mentor, and creative director at the Bloom Collective. The mission of herself and the Bloom Collective is to give passionate business owners around the globe the technical know-how and resources to confidently DIY their brand, website, and visual marketing so that they can stand out, ignite sales, and create a business they love, which I'm really excited to share because I've not seen anything like this. So I can't wait for people to hear more about the Bloom Collective. But before we get started, Kellie, thank you again for joining me. Thank you for your time, for your energy, and for the words of wisdom that you are about to share with all of us. As you know, and as our followers know, the purpose of the series is to be able to just share really awesome stories of normal, everyday women living their lives the way that they choose, whether it be in business or relationships or health, and, you know, I guess inspiring others to do exactly the same. So enough from me. I'll now hand it over to you. So Kellie, I guess to get started, I would love it if you could share with us a little bit about yourself, not only the Bloom Collective, but also, I guess, who you are, you know, some of the adventures that life has brought you, and then, of course, how that led into the Bloom Collective and what you do now.
First off, Louise, thank you for that and such a lovely intro. Loved it. Thank you. I have been in business since 2012. First business was back in 2013. I think first 2012 I actually was made redundant from corporate and had been in corporate for 20 plus years here in Auckland in New Zealand, and I think I was just saying to Louise that after my third redundancy, I decided that I was going to actually venture out as an entrepreneur. And after all, it was in my blood. So I decided to go down that track. And I've been a graphic designer pretty much since the beginning. I have had clients all around the world. I realised that there were a lot of people around the world that wanted to DIY, and for two main reasons. And that was because they either love to be part of that creative process and be able to, you know, have the ability to create graphics and be able to do their own website, or they couldn't afford it. Budget was a bit tight. And that's where it got me thinking that I really wanted to help these people. And it was about that time Canva was launched. I think her name was Melissa that owns Canva, and she was very inspiring. She's another fellow graphic designer, and she was teaching. Her story was about teaching Photoshop to people, and she couldn't understand why people couldn't get the concept of learning how to learn Photoshop, and so that's why she created Canva. And I absolutely love Canva now. Yes, I do still work in Adobe Photoshop and in and Illustrator, but I also do a lot of graphics, and most of my graphics for social media and stuff and all in the Bloom store are all, of course, made in Canva. So I wanted to be able to give that leg up on most people, creative people who are business owners, so that they could, you know, get back into their zone and a lot quicker, faster, and not having to spend most of their time doing their website and working out their branding and what have you. So that's, you know, that's been for the last 3 years actually.
Yeah, fantastic.
I've been down this track.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how has it been received? I guess as well, my knowledge, I've not seen anything like the Bloom Collective before. And I think it's amazing as someone who loves DIY, who loves to be the creative in my business and just feels really proud of, building my own type of things. But also recognize I don't always have a lot of time to invest in learning all the things to do it.
No.
I'm not the only one out there in that space. So how have you been received, I guess in New Zealand or in the rest of the
market? Absolutely love it. It's quite very unique here in New Zealand. I would say that it's quite popular over in America. But I didn't wake up one day and go, oh, this is exactly what I'm going to be doing. It was something that has been growing through the education of Canva, the workshop. When I did that a couple of years ago, I launched that Canva workshop. And what I do is I love talking to people, and I love learning what they're about and where they come from. And so the Bloom store actually came from that workshop. It was like, this is how you can actually turn your ebook and what it can be all about and what it can look like. But yeah, it's definitely unique, and it's been received really well, phenomenally well. It's a lot of people going, oh my God, love it. I don't have to spend. I mean, I got one reaction was, how's bells? I've just spent all day, 3 hours or 4 hours trying to do a 30-page ebook in Canva. And I'm like, well, no, you don't need to do that now. You could actually, after 2 mouse clicks, you've got yourself an ebook, and all you have to do is copy and paste all your content into this ebook, and half an hour later you've got yourself an ebook.
I
and
love
a pre-opted offer.
Yeah, I think it's great. I do have ebooks, but Canva has been too scary for me to even go near to work out how to create them in that space.
Oh,
so
wow.
I've just avoided it altogether and just produce, I guess, the best I can with the knowledge that I've got. But I also know that, when we were talking about this earlier, is that, we can outsource that, and we can pay, I guess, online agencies like Fiverr or Upworks, I think they're called, or invest in a local graphic designer, a lot of, thousands of dollars to produce that, which not every business owner has got to be investing in an amazing resource.
No.
And, not everyone has the time to do it, or the time or the desire to want to learn it, like myself. So I know that that's one of your products is, the ebook template, which I just think is absolutely amazing for all involved. That are looking to, turn their creativity into something minus the hassle and minus the massive financial investment.
Absolutely. I mean, that was having worked 5 good solid years of working with clients, and realized that there is a majority of people who needed something, and that's who I wanted to help. They were the people that really needed the help, usually, obviously within the first 5 years of being in business. And like I said before, I think the less time you spend fiddling around with your website, fiddling around in Canva, fiddling around in your non-zone area, and the more time you spend in your zone and in your genius, is what success is about. Absolutely. So, it's being able to move on from that I've got a DIY, but I don't have to DIY from scratch. And that's where I was thinking, well, that's how I can help them. I can give them that leg up.
Yeah, amazing. And as you said, it's been really well received, which is, even better. So as you mentioned, that wasn't the first business that you started when you left corporate. There was one before that, and then that has led you into the Bloom Collective. And it is a journey. All of us in business know this is a journey. What you start with turns into its own, eco beast, and you just go along for the ride, really. But I would love to know from you, I guess, especially having a corporate background transitioning into your own business, although you've got people in your family that were entrepreneurs, it's not always easy to go from the corporate to entrepreneur. So did you face any challenges, especially in those first couple of years, or even when you started the Bloom Collective, that were, I guess, stand out more than any others?
holy moly, where do I start? One of the transitions I found was that from corporate to being an entrepreneur was learning how to be myself. I was so afraid of being me.
Yeah.
And working with salespeople and working with marketing departments in corporate, I had to learn a whole new language. And what I didn't learn, and nobody told me, was that it's okay to be you. You've got to be you. If you are if like say you're a business coach, which you are, but if somebody's listening today and they're a VA, or they find they've got 1,000 other people that are doing what they're doing, all I can say is add more of you and your personality into your brand.
Yep.
And try not to feel afraid of being the face of your brand, because that's what's going to get you more aligned clients. Because I spent years and years and years doing the right thing in business and trying to be on first page of Google, trying to be popular on Facebook, and trying to do the Instagram thing. That's not where you should expend your energy. Your energy is to make connections with people. And in order to get a client, I used to get clients saying, I love your vibe and I love your style. And that's because they were all over my website. And the more you interject your personality, the more I can say is that your ideal client will connect with you and they want to work with you. And then the more you get that is your buzz, is when you're working with someone who is phenomenally, loves you, what you do.
Yeah.
And it's a phenomenal feeling. And that was probably the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Was to understanding that.
And I think that is still really prevalent to a lot of people, starting and growing businesses. I know that I have definitely ticked the learning box of consuming all the information because I thought I needed to know all the things, because that's just the way that our brains can work.
Yeah.
And then I finished learning all the things, and then I went, well, now what? Like, what else? What am I going to do now that I've learned everything?
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then it was very much around, okay, so how do I take what I already know or what I've just learned, if that's the tangent of our, what's happened with our audience, but how do I now turn that into me?
Yeah.
And it can be very challenging, because a lot of my clients say, but Lou, how do I stop looking at everyone else to find who I am in this spot? And it's like, well, stop looking at everyone else and what they're talking about and regurgitating that into your own language.
Yeah.
Understand who you are, understand your values, understand why you've launched your product or your service-based business, and show up as that person.
Yep.
And that is what sets you apart, as you mentioned. It's like, you sell you. The tools are amazing. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, the list goes on. These are all avenues to show up as you and to talk about things about your business or your life or whatever you want to talk about. But at the end of the day, as you mentioned, make connections, because if you're not connecting with people, you could be the best product or have the best service, but if you don't talk to anyone and no one knows that you exist, and you haven't built amazing relationships, like, you're going to be doing a lot more learning, and that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be on the learning bus, not the actual living bus. And
absolutely, the best. What do I call the best? The world's best secret.
Yes.
It's like nobody knows you're doing it.
Yeah, it really is. It's I was actually thinking about this. It's funny that we're talking about it, because some people, very busy. They've got a lot less time trying to juggle all the things. And they often say, what is the one thing I can be doing to help bring my business forward? I said, you can get rid of doing all the things. Like, don't worry about posting if you don't have the time. Don't worry about stories. Don't worry about IGTV. Don't worry about doing all the fun little fancy things on social. Let all of that go. And if the only thing you do is talk to people, that will bring your business forward. The rest of it is part of your branding. And as your business moves forward, you can start to do all of this stuff, or you'll have money to invest to get people to help you do all of this stuff.
Absolutely.
But if you're not talking to people, No one knows your website exists. No one knows you're on Facebook. No one knows your Instagram's there. So
yeah. I was very fortunate. One of my biggest recommendations is to invest in a business coach. I did it right at the beginning, and because of who I learned out who my ideal client was. Another, if budget doesn't permit, get yourself a mentor and soak up everything they have to say. And if they have a community, then jump in that community and then just be you. Just, ask the questions, just get vulnerable, do whatever you have to do to make it successful. If you're building a business on your why, then you've got to do what it takes. You've got to do what it takes. I felt like an idiot running around with a camera in the Cornwall Park years ago with that, and I felt like a wally because I wasn't used to it. But now I could go in there and do cartwheels. It doesn't matter,
Yeah, no one actually cares, right? That's what you learn. I used to feel the same way. I have a tripod to take pictures because I'm a one-man band. I would be like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing that I'm standing here in front of my tripod or whatever. It's like, no one actually cares. You are the only person that thinks that they care about you doing this. They can't give a shit. They just think you're taking pictures with the tripod.
Yeah. Actually, I'm the one, I probably do care. I'm the one person who does care and think, yay, they're making money for their business or something.
Yeah. And then obviously us that have set it up and we know what's happening, it's like, oh, you become their biggest fan. So it's like, yes. And that is the people that will care, the cheerleaders, the other people that don't know what you're doing. Like, they're so engrossed in their own life that they're totally fine.
I know. And then another piece of advice I'd love to share is stop being in your head and stop thinking about things, so overthinking. It's, I'm prevalent. I used to be. It's like I was frozen in 2016. I froze because I thought, holy cow, I've got to make these videos now. I'm going to start teaching people. And it didn't help. Nothing helped. And that's because I was in my head and overthinking what I had to do, what needed to be done, how I needed to be. And I think when you start realizing that you're building, like I did, I was starting to build a business on my why, it became a lot easier. Things became a lot easier. And not being so self-focused. And it's all about them and not about me and what I look like and what I do. If I make a mistake, so what? It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to fire me.
Yeah. And something I often say is that most of the time we're the only people that know there has been a mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
No one, or I say, if I said to one of my clients last year, they were wanting to run a workshop and their goal was 20 people. There was a lot of pressure on him, put a lot of pressure on themselves or himself to fill that room. And I was like, where is all this pressure coming from? We were talking about it, but do you know that you and I are the only people that know that is your goal? And if you've only got 10 people in that room, none of them know that you wanted to have another 10 more. Or 5 more, or 1 more, or whatever it be. It is simply you getting I call it the pressure monkey, putting it on your shoulder to hold yourself back and tell yourself that you're not worthy of what it is that you're doing. And to freeze you and to self-sabotage and all of that stuff. Whereas it's like, right, set your goal, take imperfect action. You get to learn along the way. You get to laugh at it. I look back at the videos when I first started in my business of 3 years ago. They're horrendous. Yeah. How beautiful that I have that montage of it all to remind us all of where it started. So if it was perfect, how boring. But we,
I know.
You get to look back and be like, oh, well, look how far we've come. So
absolutely I think it's a journey of all sorts of things. I remember doing videos years ago, and I actually got my sister to come and have a look and give me some opinion. She says, oh, you're too animated. But it's like, well, I am anyway. I'm not going to be anyone else. I'm going to be me. And if people don't like it and don't understand it, that's fine. I'm not gonna, not everyone's gonna like me and what I do or how I teach.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's self-deprecating, isn't it? When you have that internal dialogue, and I call it the inner mean girl.
Yes.
And she is a lot quieter now than she used to be. And if she's around, it's not for long.
Yeah.
It's not for long.
We don't have time to listen to Inner Mean Girl. So
No, because also Inner Mean Girl means that it's negative feedback. And as an entrepreneur, especially a solo one, I can't listen to that. It's now called jargon. It's jargon, and I can't listen to it. I've got to focus on what I'm here for. If it starts to rear its ugly little head, then you just bop it and just shove it away.
Yeah, agreed. Now, I do have one question for you, because you've given us so much advice already for people who are starting business, people who have started a business and they're moving along. But I do have one other one, because we're talking about, showing up as you and being your authentic self. Some people, I guess, get quite nervous around the online trolls or the haters. What I often get asked, but Lou, what if I do and people start writing mean things to me or messaging mean things to me? Because we see it in some people online and we hear about it. Firstly, have you ever, I've never personally, I show up as myself every day. I've never personally received any of this hate coming at me.
No.
But have you ever, or to that woman who this resonates with, what would your advice be to her?
I've never received it. But that's because my business model is about focusing on that one person that would never do that.
Yes.
I'm grateful for that. I have been in a very large Facebook group, and I was talking about Canva and teaching. In fact, it was my first one in 18,000 people, women in business in Australia. And I put a post up saying I'd love to teach people graphic design. And I got a couple of ladies who decided to pipe up and say, well, this is not fair, blah, 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 whatever their reasons were. Now, after 5 years of experience of being in business, I didn't even listen to it. I switched off from it. And what I've learned from personal experience is never buy into somebody else's bad behavior or bad ugliness.
Yes.
One, because they might be having a real shitty day. They might have found out that their mother's dying. Or for example, they might have broken their arm the day before. We don't know what is going on in people's lives. Social media is a platform for people to be able to vent themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's like the bad car driver. They shield themselves behind something. And if they were standing in front of you, I bet you they probably wouldn't do it.
Yes. Good friend of mine calls them keyboard warriors.
Yeah, that's it. And I like to come from empathy. If you empathize, if somebody wants to say something nasty or mean, I don't even buy into it. I wouldn't even respond. It's not worth it. It's not worth the time or the day or your lovely energy to respond to something like that.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it's either they're having a bad day or their reasons might be quite valid. But then you might feel that you want to be able to respond to it and feel justified in responding to it. Don't do it straight away. Don't do it, sleep on it.
Yeah.
Do it the next day, because you yourself will be feeling a lot refresher, and also your mind won't be so jungled up and
so emotional about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The next day is you're highly not likely going to be emotional about it.
Yeah.
And not responding on emotion.
Yeah.
With your own emotion.
Yeah. Otherwise you'll get some emotion coming back sometimes.
Absolutely. You know, I always say you can't argue with dumb.
Yeah.
You know, whether you want to respond to or not is completely up to you, but wait a day, give it a day. If you want to still respond, then, you know, if what they're saying is valid and you feel validated to do it yourself, then do it the next day.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, Kellie, the purpose of, you know, our Homegrown series is, you know, to inspire change, to talk about stories, challenges, advice, you know, juggling all of the things, and just be really open and honest and authentic, as you've already kind of mentioned. And the other part of it is to really inspire and champion change. So I doesn't necessarily have to be in business. It can be in any area of life in which, you know, if someone has a goal and going out there and achieving it and, you know, making the change in order to do it. And a part of their vision for the series is to be able to inspire that person to go and champion their own change. But I am curious to know from you, what does championing change mean to you?
I started to write down what championing change was for me. And I truly believe my whole business is built on that model. And I do believe that it's all about questioning the status quo. And it is about, you know, if you want to do it at a personal level, I'm like that anyway. It's like what you see is what you get. I don't, you know, I used to work with people that would be so boring. And so, you know, these lovely ladies I used to work with, they would be very disgruntled. And it's like, that was my push to become who I am today, because I don't want to be that 70-year-old that walks around the office and is disgruntled and has got nothing negative, you know, nothing positive to say. I wanted to see change in myself because I knew that there was something bigger for me. And now I want to empower others to question the status quo. You know, if you want to be funny, be funny. My business, from a professional perspective, it's about challenging what the gurus are saying.
Yeah. And very much what the normal graphic industry has been.
Yes.
So we spoke about this before we jumped on and, you know, hit record for everyone. We were talking about how, you know, the Bloom Collective kind of formulated, and how you went, right, I'm a graphic designer, but not my target market. They can't all afford to invest in my services, and they don't all want to. Some of them actually like doing it themselves. So this is my expertise. This is my ideal client, and, you know, what they want and how much they can invest. And then you ask yourself, I assume, why do businesses fail? Or it came to you and you were reading on Forbes that a lot of businesses fail in their first 5 years. One, because of market research, and you've said, find out who your client is. That will help you immensely. And two, because of money. And you kind of took that idea and went, right, I'll create something that is affordable for the person who knows what they want to do, but they can't always outsource or afford to invest and outsource everything. So I guess that's a great, you know, idea, or a great explanation of championing change. And as you said, challenging the status quo in the graphic industry, and in your profession, and going, right, now I'm doing it my way. And, you know, Frank Sinatra, sing your heart out.
Well, that's right. I mean, there was a point in time where I just said the world doesn't need another graphic designer. What they do need is somebody who can give a leg up, who understands marketing, who understands how to run a business, and a successful one, and knows pretty much about building a brand on their why. So that's why I've got the Bloom Collective, because it's built on, you know, it didn't happen overnight. It's happened over since 2013 and a couple of businesses later. And that's why I just want to empower the ones that really need it, so that they can get on and, you know, be in their zone of genius.
Yeah.
Like
I love it.
And like I said before, it's like I think the ultimate goal for us is to be, as entrepreneurs, is to be in our zone of genius as often as we can, and when we are, for as long as we can.
Yes.
And that's why, and that's how you end up being more successful. I believe that.
Yep, I completely agree.
Yeah, and if you spend too much time fiddling around on your website and fiddling around with your branding and being in Canva because you don't know what you're doing, then look for tools and resources that can help you get there or get over that obstacle quicker.
Excellent. Now, this is a great segue, Kellie. Now, I'm a massive cheerleader of your business, and I'm so grateful that we've connected and that I know all about it. And for others out there who also want to know more about it, or they have listened to this and they're like, yes, I'm spending way too much time fiddling with all the things, and I'm not actually doing enough of what I love doing. How do people find you? What's the best way to connect with you and your business, or to see, more, or to check out what the Bloom Collective have?
Absolutely. On my website, which is Kellie, Kellie, and co.com. There's a myriad of tools and resources in there. I've actually got, if they want to find out more about how their style is for their branding, I've got a great quiz there that the pop-up should pop up on my website, and it takes them through their what their style is. It's a great quiz. It's been actually quite successful. And then jump on my email, and I talk every week about building a brand on authenticity, and also do a little bit of DIY tools and tips. I would love for anyone that I've resonated with to come along and jump on my website and join the community.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I've asked for one piece of advice before you joined me, and you've given me a truckload for our audience. And it has been an absolute pleasure to sit here and talk with you all about, your journey and the Bloom Collective. And I love, as I said, I love what you do, and I'm really excited to watch you to continue to grow. And I hope that more people jump on board and stop trying to do it all themselves and learn all the things and get some assistance in a low cost, time effective way. So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Louise. It's been a pleasure meeting you and talking to you too. I've loved it as well.